Yo, what's up, guys? This is going to be the first short video that I make on a concept that I like to call fight IQ. It's something that's extremely difficult to develop, and it's probably the singular most dividing skill gap in the entire game amongst like Immortal, Radiant, and Pro players. So, if you find this interesting, let me know. I'm going to make more videos on this, but let's take a look at a VOD of a student that I recently coached. So my student is going in with Jett, pulls out the knife to catch a better timing. This is all good. Goes for the pre-fires, trying to scale with Jett. Their Jett kind of baits here a little bit, like a chud. But we go in and we die. Now, there's a couple factors that I need you guys to understand that might have been hard to see at first. My student knows that Clove is backside. It is not a mystery. They know for a fact that Clove is backside. They know for a fact that Sova rotated in. They are fully aware that there are two players backside. Given that information, we all need to understand how a Clove is going to play backside. That's the question that you have to ask yourself. Okay? And it's not that you're thinking about this in the moment. It's a very intuitive thing. I'll teach you how to train it after. But when a Clove is in a position like this, their win condition is going to be to angle out at a perfect timing based on your scaling. So they're basically going to try to intercept you, right? If this is their intercept point here, then their goal as Clove, I'm going to draw them as a red line. Their goal is to tuck right here, okay? So I'll put this in yellow. They're going to tuck somewhere in this zone, and then they're going to try to swing, maybe even crouch peek you at a timing that intercepts your exact point of contact. Does that make sense? So they're off the angle, they listen for the audio cue or the timing, and then they timing swing and timing peak off that audio cue or just off of their own intuition. And they're trying to intercept you with that one contact point perfectly, where they have perfect movement, perfect crosshair placement, etc. That is what their goal is. And this is a very common interaction in Valorant. This is not something that's exclusive to Seaside on Haven. This is when anyone is against a wall like this, against people scaling, generally speaking, it's always going to be this. So that is the circumstance. That is the knowledge that you need to have about Valorant. So now when we watch this with that knowledge here, that's what you should be playing for. You need to be ready for this timing peak. Look at our crosshair floating around. Our crosshair's floating around. We're getting stuck. Here, you need to be deathly scared of closed timing peak. You need to be jiggle pre-firing them. You need to be like going for like a anticipatory crouch peek, right? Like if you're anticipating that they're right here right now, and you want to kind of mirror their movement, you're anticipating they're peeking to the left and you're swinging to the left. Don't even move your crosshair from right here. Just swing to the left with this crosshair with a crouch peek. If your crosshair's off and you see them to the right, you just make that micro adjustment. But instead, again, your crosshair's floating. You don't incorporate any good movement. You don't try to predict their exact angle or their swing or anything like this, and you die. See, this is where players go wrong. And we're lucky that Clove, the enemy Clove, is like an Immortal 1 player at most. Maybe like a Senate 3 or something like that. I don't know exactly what rank this lobby is. But if this was a pro player, you would just get eviscerated in the first millisecond of this gunfight. You'd get one tapped. Clove whiffed on them. That's why my student had a chance to shoot their gun in the first place. But understanding this and understanding how enemies are going to move and how enemies are going to react and how enemies are going to play scenarios, that's going to impact your ability to use the right tool, whether it's pre-firing, crouch peeking, bursting, etc. You're never going to know how to approach a fight, how to move in a fight, how to shoot in a fight if you don't have this fight IQ, okay? This is something that you need to download over a long period of time. Let's take a look at another example here. So as we can see, we just planted the bomb, we smoke C, we decay CT, then we go out. The ISO shield's here, we try to go for the fight, we die. Granted, it's not a great idea to fight this early on the retake, even with Clove Vault. Maybe you could incorporate something with your team, because you couldn't get the backside in time. But, regardless though, it's okay. You die here, everyone starts fighting, the enemies are out, we know that the enemies are out, and then we're in our Clove Vault and we see Sova here. And this is the key indication right now. Sova's here. Now everyone, what's Sova going to do? You can also look at the minimap right now and see what Sova's doing. But what is Sova going to do right now? Okay? He is going to hold this angle. In particular, he's probably going to hold a pixel. There's two main things that could be happening right now. Is that one of these close players could actually be angling out on you. It's unlikely, but if you're like unaware of exactly what's on the minimap, it could be happening. And definitely, Sova's going to be holding this angle because he has to protect his team. So when you re-swing this angle here, you have to be fully ready with your gun out crouch peeking that. And my student felt like, oh, I need to get into the fight ASAP while they're distracted. Right? That's a very logical thing to think, but it's not high level enough. Okay, when you get to this point, and you're here, it's not even enough to be ready, right? A lot of you might say, oh, well, wait until your gun's out. That's still not enough. Oh, we'll be ready for him holding you. It's still not enough. What you have to do is you have to wait for your gun to get out here, and you have to crouch peek with God intentions, like full intention to peek this perfectly here. Maybe even pre-fire it, right? Because it is that obvious that Sova's going to hold this angle, that somebody is going to hold this angle. That is the right move here. And if you can't anticipate how these enemies are going to play against you here, so you don't wait for your gun to get out, you don't crouch peek, then your fight IQ is never going to be high enough. So regardless of how good your aim is, how good you are in death matches, none of that is ever going to matter if you can't read enemies like this, okay? This is the single dividing skill in all of pro play. And obviously there's levels to this, right? In a very straightforward situation, funny enough, this is actually a very straightforward situation. It's actually very obvious, and every single high level player would know what I'm talking about right now. But this gets more and more complicated, right? And it expands into a wider and wider range of different things. Where some of the best players, in my opinion, someone like Forsaken, a lot of the Paper X players are like this. They have a fight IQ that is like unbelievable, where they're anticipating movement, especially something. Dude, something so good at it. They're anticipating your movements so well. It's like they play with wall hacks. It's one of the reasons why I scouted Narrate in the first place for Mad Lions, was because when he played, he literally played like he had wall hacks, perfectly peeking everything. When people have that vision, that fight IQ, they are some of the best players on the planet automatically. Now, just so you get the reference here, let's take a look at Floor playing this round here. So, to start off, Floor is also an incredible mechanical player. All right, so Waylay bubbles here. What's Waylay going to do, everybody? Well, Waylay's going to swing. They're going to try to play off their bubble. And a lot of times, because Waylay saw Reyna, Waylay should be peeking Reyna here, going for a peek right here on Reyna. So Floor goes a little bit wider and holds for that, which is obviously the only thing you can do here. So good. But now, Floor sees Vito. So how should Floor peek this? Wait for a gun to come out, and then crouch peek the right side pixel with intention. And just absolutely eviscerates that Vito. That has a crazy adjustment on the Clove as well. Which, by the way, guys, just a little high-level piece of advice here. If Floor crouch peeks this, right, and let's say she's wrong and Vito was wider, right here, like let's say the player's this wide, then guess what? You still crouch peek this angle. You can still hit this micro adjustment, right? When you're crouching and when you're in the animation of crouching, your movement's actually slowing down. In this case, she's actually already fully stopped. You just got to lock in on your aim and hit the micro adjustment here. So as long as you're in this like general zone, it's not fully optimal. Obviously, you want to be priming this exact pixel for someone who's standing still. But if they're moving, if they're swinging wider and you catch them at a timing here, you're going to have an advantage crouch peeking just hitting this micro adjustment. Of course, you have to be good at hitting your micro adjustment, and you have to commit to the fight. You can't just half commit, right? But yeah, that's a kind of a bailout here. So you need to have more confidence with these reads and predicting the enemy's movements, because even if you're wrong, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, guys, the TLDR is that you need to envision how the enemies are going to play, whether it's because they have a certain piece of utility that they're trying to play off of. Maybe it's circumstantial, where they're trying to hold your backside peek in a chaotic situation, or in this like backside chicken fight. It's just a game of chicken, who's going to peek first and get timinged. But you have to be reading these movements, and if you can do that, you'll be a 10 times better player. Anyways, guys, I'll make more videos on this concept for all of you guys to learn in the future. So anyways, all of you guys have a nice day. Let me know if you want to see more.